Kojima Hoshi, Taiheiki, Chapter 3, The Dream of the Supreme Highness and the Matter of Kusunoki. Of Kusunoki, it was on the 27th day of the 8th month of the first year of Genko that the Supreme Highness went to Kasagi to take up his abode in the main hall. For the first day or two after his coming, no man rendered allegiance to him there, since all feared the power of the military. But when it was known that the men of Rokuhara were beaten down in the fighting at the eastern base of Mount Hiei, the monks of Kasagi temple hastened to assemble, and warriors of neighboring provinces galloped together from here and there. Yet there came no great lord who was a warrior of renown, leading 100 or 200 horsemen. And the heart of the Supreme Highness was made heavy thereby, so that he thought, "Can these warriors alone protect our abiding place?" So he was thinking, when for a time sleep claimed his eyes. In a dream he beheld a place like to the courtyard of the Shishinden, wherein stood a mighty evergreen tree with dense foliage, its branches stretching out luxuriantly toward the south. Beneath that tree sat the great lords and officials, each according to his rank, and there were thick mats piled high on raised seat facing toward the south, where no man sat. In the dream, the Supreme Highness thought, "For whom is this seat made ready?" Registered *, the position of honor or authority, cf. The Chinese epithet South Facer, used of the emperor. The Taiheiki, as he stood there doubtfully, suddenly 2 children appeared, wearing their heron rolls. They knelt in front of him and wept into their sleeves, saying, "No Harin, all the realm may you hide even briefly, yet beneath that tree there is a seat facing south. Sit there a while. It was made ready for your sake." He thought that those children rose up into the distant sky. And even then he awakened. Thus hopefully, he interpreted the august dream. When the night had lightened, he summoned the teacher-off discipline Jajubt, a monk of Kasagi temple, and spoke to him, saying, "Is there perhaps a warrior called Kusunoki in these parts?" Jajubo answered him, saying, "I have not heard that there is a person of such a surname hard by." In the province of Kawachi, west of Mount Congo, there is indeed one who has obtained a name as a wielder of bow and arrow, and he is called Kusunoki Masashige. Men say he is a descendant of the eyed great subject of the left, Lord Moro of the Takebana, a descendant in the 4th generation of the Emperor Baidatsu, whose family left the capital long ago to dwell among the common people. Likewise is it told that Masashige was born of a dream dreamt by his mother, when in her youth she made 100-day retreat to Shigi Bishaman, wherefore he was named Taman, a sad child. Plus heavenly monarchs, is worshipped as a protector of the state, a war god and a bringer of wealth. He is the principal deity enshrined at the Chagasanshiji Temple on Mount Shigi in northern Kawachi, Nara Prefecture. A so, indeed, here played. Now the Supreme Highness thought, "This is he of whom tonight's dream told us. Call the warrior Kusunoki at once," he said. And Lord Fujifusa made speed to summon Masashige, according to the imperial command. When the imperial messenger came to Kusunoki's abiding place to speak concerning his commission, in his heart Masashige thought, "There can be no greater honor for a man of bow and arrow." Quickly, he went forth in secret to Kasagi, not thinking about advantages or disadvantages. The Supreme Highness spoke to Masashige through the mouth of Lord Fujifusa, the Madanakoji Middle Counselor, saying, "Thinking to rely upon you to subdue the eastern barbarians, we sent forth our imperial messenger. We rejoice exceedingly that you have hastened to come here. What is your plan for swiftly winning a victory and pacifying the 4 seas, that the realm may be returned to our hands? Speak freely all that is in your mind." Respectfully, Masashige said, "Of late by their crimes the eastern barbarians have invited the censure of heaven. Wherefore then, shall we not profit from their weakness to destroy them on heaven's behalf? Yet to control the realm we require not men of war alone, but clever devisings as well. Not by opposing strength against strength will we triumph, not though we assemble to, they're the warriors of more than 60 Provincesto contest against the men of Musashi and Sagami alone. But if we fight with a plan, there will be nothing to fear, since the guileless Eastern barbarians can do nothing beyond smashing what is sharp and destroying what is strong. Since the way of warfare is as it is, let not the sovereign look at the outcome of a single battle. While he hears that Masashige alone still lives, let him believe that he will prevail at last. So he spoke firmly, and went Hamido Kawachi. 5-5 he means that the Eastern warriors are vulnerable because they are poor strategists. All thought he are so strong in battle that they can batter down enemy swords and destroy enemy positions. The Taiheiki, the Battle of Kasagi, how Sayama and Kamiyama attacked by night. By night, when it was known in the capital that at Kasagi the Supreme Highness received the homage of loyal warriors from nearby provinces, the military were seized with trembling, lest with emboldened hearts the soldier, monks of the mountain gate come down against Rokuhara. They gave men of the province of Omido Sasaki Heigen Takanabu to go forth toward Atsu, and when it was said that this was not sufficient, they added the Kyuge and Nagasawa families, residents of the province of Tamba, that camped with 800 riders at the post stations east and west of Atsu. On the first day of the 9th month, the two Rokuhara examiners, registered Kasuya Saber 6 Maniki and Sudajur 6 seamen, went forth to the Biden cloister at Uji with 500 riders to record the coming of the hosts. Men of war from many provinces galloped together continuously in daylight and darkness, not waiting to be urged, until their numbers became 100,000 riders. And they resolved to go against Kasagi at the hour of the snake on the 2nd day of the 9th month. May it not be that Takahashi Madashire thought to win honor by acting before others. For on the 1st day of the 9th month, he drew near to the foot of Kasagi mountain with none but his 300 kinsmen. Although the loyal warriors inside the castle were not many, their spirit was valiant, and they hungered to do great deeds to save the realm. How could they fail to strike when they beheld Takahashi's miserable force? Their 3,000 riders lay in wait beside the Kazu River, encompassed Takahashi's men about, and fell upon them fiercely. And forgetting the warlike ardor that had seized him in the beginning, Takahashi frantically whipped his horse in retreat, without looking back so much as once. Great numbers of his men were driven to their deaths in the whirling waters of the Kazu River, while those who escaped alive abandoned Degrees II, ranking officials of the Rokuhara samurai office. They judged crimes, made tour of investigation, and led the warriors stationed in Kyoto to battle. Their horses and arms, fleeing stripped to the capital in full daylight. An ignominious spectacle indeed. Someone must have thought it such a disgrace that he wrote a verse and put it up beside the bridge at the Biden, saying, "Swift are the white waves of the Kazu River's many rapids, the high bridge thrown across at once collapsed." Hearing of Takahashi's plan, a certain Kobayakawa had followed along behind him, thinking to win honor in his placif heretiated. Yet Kobayakawa's men, chased off at the same time, ran away as far as Uji without ever turning back. And a second bill was put up, saying, "Unable to stand, the high bridge fell, bringing disgrace to the flowing water, O disgraced small swift stream." Registered now the two Rokuhara examiners thought. When it is known that the imperial forces were victorious in yesterday's battle, warriors will come hastily from many provinces to render allegiance to the sovereign, and it will be a troublesome thing. We must not delay. Wherefore, with the hosts at Uji divided into 4 armies for the 4 directions, they went forth against Kasagi Castle on the 2nd day of the 9th month. To the south were sent 7,600 horsemen from the 5 home provinces, that circled around behind Mount Kami 6 to attack from the rear. To the east were sent 5,000 horsemen from Iga, Ise, Oweri, Mikawa, and Tatami, all provinces of the Takeda circuit, that headed toward Kangesengo by way off the Iga road. To the north were sent 12,000 horsemen from the 8 provinces of the Sanande 6 circuit, that went from beside the Nashima post station and circled around the foot of Mount Ikenobito attack from the front. And to the west were sent 2,000 horsemen from the 8 provinces of the Sanyedo 6th Circuit that went up the Kazu River and advanced in 2 armies by steep paths above the banks. Truly, for 2 leagues on each side of Kasagi Mountain, the more than 5,000 attackers filled every foot of land. When Theski lightened at the hour of the hare on the 3rd day of the 9th month, the attackers drew together on all sides to shout 7A pun on Takahashi's name, which means Igprigen 8 Kobyakawa means small swift stream. The Taiheiki out their battle cry. Like 100,000 thunderclaps was that sound, shaking heaven and earth. When they had shouted 3 times, they shot Hummingbulb Arosto set the battle in array. Yet within the silent castle, no man raised a battle shout, nor did any shoot an answering arrow. White clouds buried the peak of the high mountain where Kasagi Castle stood, and mossy crags dropped away below for a myriad fathoms. The twisting path leading upward was half a league long. Likewise, rocks had been hewn away to make ditches, and boulders were piled up to serve as walls. Not easily might men ascend to such a castle, though it be not defended by a single warrior. But the men of Rokuhara thought, within the castle all is silent, and no man can be seen. It must be that our enemies have fled. The more than 75,000 attackers from the 4 directions climbed over chasms and cliffs, clung to kuzu vines, and scaled rocks, until they came before the hall of the 2 monarchs, close upon the outer castle gate. There they rested a while, looking up into the castle. And then indeed they beheld the sovereign's brocade banner floating in the air, its sun and moon of copyright gold and silver, shining and sparkling in the bright sunlight. All the space beneath that banner was filled by more than 3,000 armored warriors, standing like clouds or mist with joined sleeves and gleaming helmet, stars. Registered, moreover, archers waited eagerly at the tops of towers and behind windows, where they moistened bowstrings with their mouths, untied packets of arrows and spread them out, and rubbed oil from their noses onto arrows from the middle of their quivers. These were not men to be attacked hastily. Now, as the besiegers remained in their places with unquiet hearts, not venturing to advance nor yet able to fall back, a window board was removed from the tower above the gate, and a warrior named his name, saying, "Honored by the trust of the master of the realm, Asukjira Shijnori, a resident of the province of Mikawa, guards the outer gate of this castle." Am I wrong in thinking that these advancing registered nailheads on the helmet, bowl, copyright possibly to make the arrow slide more easily against the bow and hand? Banners are banners of men of Mino and Oweri. I have been awaiting the coming of the lords of Rokuhara, since the master of the Tengudax is staying in this castle. To welcome them, I have made ready a few arrowheads, forged by smiths of Yamato. Please try one. He pulled a long arrow far back in his mighty bowstring by 3 men, steadied his aim a moment, and let go the singing arrow, that smote arrow cure, wading across a valley 250 yards distant, and drove hard and dipinto his right side through the flap protecting his armor cord. Though it was but a single arrow, most excellently was it aimed. Arrow fell down headfirst from his horse, and died without sitting up. Then Kurday's younger brother Yagord stood in front of him, that his corpse might not be seen by the enemy. He came out from behind his shield, and spoke a word, saying, "The strength of my lord Asuk's bow, arm is Noda's I have heard. Pray shoot here so that I matest the sinews of my armor with your arrow." So he mocked him, striking his bowstring runner, registered judging from this person's manner of speaking, thought Asuk. He must certainly be wearing a corselet or chain garment under his armor, that after seeing my first arrow hebeats his chest, saying, "Shoot here." If I hit his armor, the shaft of the arrow will be smashed, the arrowhead will bend, and assuredly it will not go through. But if I hit the visor of his helmet, why should it not penetrate? He drew out a metal, headed arrow from his quiver and rubbed it with nose, oil, saying, "If such is your desire, I will give you an arrow." Receive it if you can." Hyun fastened his armor, drew back the long arrow farther than before, until the bow recoiled strongly, and sent the arrow singing the Emperor, so called because he was believed to have attained his high estate as a result of practicing the 10 Buddhist virtues in a previous life. Asked the Taiheiki on its way. Nor did that arrow fail to hit its mark, but ripped through the visor of Arrow Yagord's helmet 3 inches above the edge, burying itself up to the shaft between his eyebrows. And so these brothers fell down dead on the same pillow, without saying 2 words. With this as the beginning of the battle, howling and shouting the attackers at the front and rear began to fight, and likewise the defenders inside the castle. Not even briefly did the battle cries cease, or the yells of the archers, but truly it seemed that great mountains would crumble and be carried off to the sea, and the axis of the earth would bend and sink down in an instant. And when evening came, in many ranks the attackers pressed forward behind their shields, as far as the castle gate. Within the castle, there was a monk called Hanjibei, a man of great strength, come as a messenger bearing prayer charms from the Haniaji temple in the southern capital. Hanjab tied back the sleeves of his robe, easily picked up immense boulders, such as 100 men might not move, and tossed them out like balls, 20 or 30 in succession. The shields of the attacking hosts were smashed to pieces, and every person touched by those rocks fell over backwards. On the east and west slopes, an avalanche of men swept down, so that horses and riders were piled up manyfold, the one upon the other. Although the 2 valleys were exceedingly deep, dead men filled them up completely. Even after the battle was ended, the Kazu River was turned to blood, differing in no wise from the deep crimson color of water flowing beneath autumn leaves. From this time on, no man sought to assail the castle, though the attackers were like clouds or mist. They merely surrounded the castle's 4 sides, attacking from a distance. Now some time having passed in this manner, it came about that a fast messenger was sent to Rokuhara from the province of Kawachi on the 11th day of that month, saying, "The person called Kusunoki Masashige has raised a standard in the imperial cause. Those of his neighbors who cherish unfulfilled desires have joined themselves to him, while the others have fled east and west to hide. Likewise, Kusunoki has laid requisite tions upon the commoners of the provinces, carrying away their food for his warriors to eat, and he has built a stronghold on Mount Akasaka above his home, where he shuts himself up with 500 horsemen. Send men to subdue him at once, lest the affair become troublesome." Thereupon a great clamor arose at Rokuhara of men saying, "What strange matter is this?" Moreover, on the evening of the 13th day, there came another fast messenger, sent from the province of Bingo, who said, "Sakurayama suicide. Standard in the imperial cause, making the foremost shrine of the province his stronghold." More than 700 rebels from nearby provinces have hastened to the side of this person, who thinks to cross into other provinces after conquering Bingo. Send men to chastise him quickly, lest the affair become troublesome. There must be no remissness, so indeed it was reported. In front of the capital, Kasagi Castle stood firm against the hosts of the provinces, attacking by day and by night, while to the rear the rebels Kusunoki and Sakurayama had risen in force, causing messengers to warn of danger daily. The Rokuhara personage off the north, he that was the governor of Suruga, was disquieted in his heart, thinking, "Already traitors in the south and west are creating disturbances. How can tell what will happen in the east and north?" So he thought, and daily sent fast horses to Kamakurato ask for men of war from the eastern provinces. Now sorely affrighted, the Sagami lay monk called upon as many as 60, 3 men of consequence, both those who were his kinsmen and those who were not, that he might send a chastising army at once. And so it came about that 207, 600 warriors went forth from Kamakura on the 20th day of the 9th month, a most mighty host, whose foremost riders came to the provinces of Mino and Oweri on the last day of the month, while yet the rearmost lay in the passes of Koshi and Fudamura. Meanwhile, according to the summons of Rokuhara to residents, Kibitsu Shrine, Ashina, Gun, Hiroshima, Ken. The Taiheiki of the province of Bichu had joined the attackers at Kasagi Castle, where they camped across the river. Sayama T6Z6 Yashitaka and a certain Kamiyama Jurei. When these heard that a great army from the east was come as far as the province of Omi, they gathered together their kinsmen and retainers to speak a word to them, saying, "Tell us your minds." No man can say how many thousands or tens of thousands are fallen in these days of fighting, struck down by rocks or smitten by arrows from afar. Their bodies are not yet dried up, but already their names are forgotten, because they died without doing great deeds. Since no man is immortal, why should we not die fighting brilliantly, so that our fame may endure 1,000 years, and rewards may bless the houses of our descendants? There are those who, since the disturbances of the hike, have been renowned as mighty men of valor, yet truly their deeds were of no great merit. Kumagai and Hirayama took the lead at Ikai, Tani, because they relied upon the big force in their rear. Likewise, it was to save his son Genta that Kajiwara Haizei dashed forward twice. Sasaki Sabard's crossing at Fujito was the work of a guide, while only the speed of his horse Aikzuki enabled Sasaki, Shurd Taketsuna, to lead the way across the Uji River. Registered, even these are still talked about today, and their names are in the mouths of the realm's men. How much more glorious if by our strength alone we bring down Thai's castle, attacked vainly day after day by the assembled warriors of the land of Japan. Our fame will be unequaled for all time. Our loyalty will stand above that of a myriad men. Come. Thereupon all of these drew holy pictures *registered TO, wherein prepara the references are all to heroic acts performed by supporters of Yoritomo during the warfare between the Terra and the Minamoto at the end of the 12th Sen 18 mandalas, representing the Pure Land Paradise, into which they hoped to be born. Tian for death, since they were resolved not to return alive. They took 2 lead ropes for horses, 100 feet long, knotted them together at intervals of a foot, and tied a grapnel at the end, that by hanging the ropes from branches and boulders they might climb over the rocks. On that night one could see nothing, however much one looked, for it was the last night of the lunar month. Moreover, it was a night of furious rain and wind, when opposing armies would not go forth to clash in battle. With swords and daggers on their backs, the 50 men began to climb at the northern rampart off the castle, a rock wall 1,500 feet high, where even a bird could not fly easily. In divers ways, they went up for 750 feet, until with perplexed hearts, they beheld rocks like folding screens, rising in layers above them in a place of smooth green moss and ancient pines with drooping limbs. Thereupon Sayama T6Z6 ran uprightly over the rocks, hung the lead ropes onto the branch of a tree, and lowered them from above the rocks, so that the warriors passed over the difficult place easily by laying hold of them. And there was no other great precipice above. Toiling sorely, they grasped kuzu roots in their hands and walked over moss on their toes, until with the passing of 4 hours they came to the edge of the wall. And when they had rested their bodies a while, every man of them climbed over. Then in stealth they spied upon the castle's interior by following a sentry making his rounds. They saw that 1,000 warriors of Iga and Dise guarded the front gate on the west side of the mountain. 500 men of Yamato and Kawachi guarded the eastern bastion in the rear, and 700 riders of Izumi and Kig watched in front of the hall of the 2 monarchs on the south side. May it be that the defenders trusted to the steepness of the cliffs on the north side. No warriors watched there, but only 2 or 3 soldiers of low degree, who had lighted a campfire and gone to sleep on straw matting spread below a tower. When Sayama and Kamiyama had gone around the castle to see the enemy positions on the 4 sides, they turned their footsteps, 70, ate the Taiheiki toward the main hall, thinking to search out the abiding place of the emperor. Hearing them, a Manofa battle office spoke a question, saying, "It is strange indeed that many men pass thus stealthily in the night." "War you?" Quickly Sayama Yashitsugu answered him, saying, "We are warriors of Yamato, guarding against attackers slipping in by night, for the wind and rain are violent, and there is much noise." "To be sure," said the voice, and there was no other question. Thereafter they ascended calmly to the main hall without seeking concealment, shouting aloud, "All positions be on the alert!" When they beheld that hall, they saw that it was indeed the imperial abode, where candles burned in manna places and a bell rang faintly. There were 3 or 4 men in high, crowned caps and robes serving in the anteroom. "Which of the warrior guards are you?" these asked. And the warriors lined up close together in the winding corridor, giving the names of such and such persons from thus and so provinces. When Sayama and his men had beheld everything, even to the imperial abode, they made their hearts strong, bowed down in front of the god of the mountain, climbed to the peak above the main hall, lighted a fire in a deserted compound, and raised a battle cry altogether. "Aha," said the attackers on the 4 sides. "Deserters within the castle have lighted a fire." "A mighty host has come up into the castle," thought the emperor warriors. They cast off their armor, threw down their bows and arrows, and ran away, falling and tumbling over cliffs and into ditches. When he beheld thus a things, Nishigori Hagendai spoke a word, saying, "Ve that miserable behavior is this. We are men trusted by the master of the 10 good acts, warriors worthy of meeting the H6J in battle. Shall we flee without a fight, saying, 'The enemy is mighty'? For what occasion must our lives be cherished?" Again and again, he ran toward the enemies facing him. After he had shot away all his arrows and broken his sword, then indeed he ripped open his belly, together with his son and 13 retainers, and all fell down dead on the same pillow. The Supreme Highness flees from Kasagi. As spreading flames blew from the east and west, and smoke descended upon the imperial abode, the Supreme Highness fled away aimlessly with naked feet, and the princes and great nobles did the same. For the first 100 or 200 yards, these others assisted the Supreme Highness, waiting upon him in front and behind. But at last they drew apart, since by reason of the fierce storm the path could not be seen, and enemy war cries sounded on every side. None but Fujifusa and Sufusa remained to take the imperial hands. Even in this wise did the gracious Son of Heaven of the 10 good acts deign to transform his august person into the figure-of a rustic and wander forth without an object. How shocking it was. With all his heart he thought of going toward Akasaka Castle in the night, yet he felt as though treading a dream path, for he was not in the least accustomed to walking. Stepping once he rested, stepping twice he halted. By day he hid his body behind green hillocks close to the path, making sitting cushions of the sparse blades of frozen grasses. By night he stumbled through the dewdrops on desolate moors, quite unable to dry his gauze sleeves. 3 days and nights having passed, in some way the Supreme, the Taiheiki Highness, came to the foot of Mount Eris, that lies in Taga district in the land of Yamashiro. Fujifusa and Sufusa were footsore and weary, since no food had passed their lips for 3 days, and the will to flee was dead within them, happen what might. Wherefore, pillowing their heads on the rocks of a secluded valley, they dreamt together in broken slumber, master with subject and brother with brother. The Supreme Highness heard a wind sweeping the tops of the pine trees with a sound as of falling rain. And when he stood under a tree, the dew therefrom dripped down rapidly onto his sleeves. Here cited, since leaving Kasagi Mountain, our journeying sedge hats have found no shelter in the realm. And restraining tears, Lord Fujifusa replied, "Alas, when one approaches trusted shelter, yet are one's sleeves drenched by dew beneath the pines." Now there were 2 residents of the province of Yamashiro well acquainted with this region, the Misyu lay monk and the Matsui archivist, who searched every mountain and peak until they found out the place where the emperor abode. And Monsieur drew near there too. The Supreme Highness spoke to Monsieur with imperial dignity, saying, "If you are men of prudence, accept the favor of the Son of Heaven, whereby you will prosper exceedingly." Suddenly, a new feeling came into the heart of the Monsieur lay monk. "Ah," he thought, "would that I could hide this sovereign and raise a loyal force." But because it was impossible to know the mind of Matsui following after, he said nothing, fearful lest the matter become known and his devisings fail. How regrettable it was. This lay monk put the Supreme Highness into a mean litter covered with straw matting, wherein he took him away to Uchiyama in the southern capital. Not even a woven bark litter was in readiness, it being a sudden affair. Indeed, it was not different from the dreamlike past, when Tiang of Yin was shut up in Aisha prison, or when the monarch of Yi surrendered at Kuyoi Kai. Hash allusions to famous events in Chinese history. 1. Ang is said to have suffered imprisonment at the hands of Qi, d. 1763 3C. The last Aisha ruler, before by of those who heard or saw, there was none whose sleeve was not drenched. Seaman Yujinabuahie Arakio, Tsushima Hide, Shigesada Teifu Shojin Kainaki, Sakan Maniki Haye. No. Jo Noriaki he founded the Shang Xiyan dynasty. Ku Qin, a king of Yi, acceded 496 BC. Was forced to surrender at Kuyoi Kai Mountain after being disastrously defeated by a rival monarch. See Chapter 4 for the full story of Ku Qin. Sheijiab 6, Jokai, Shizenbei, Jaun Jajitsub Jissen, in all they were 61 persons, nor can one count the numbers of their retainers and kinsmen that were captured. Putinto litters, or mounted on post horses, they were fetched back to the capital in full daylight. Men and women who seemed to be connected with them stood lined up in the streets, weeping and lamenting unashamed before the eyes of others. How sad it was. The Rokuhara personage of the north removed the Supreme Highness to the Biden at Uji on the 2nd day of the 10th month, guarding the road with more than 3,000 horsemen. On that day, also the 2 grand marshals off, host from the Kanto came straightway to Uji, not entering the capital. And these went before the Dragon Countenancito petition for the 3 imperial emblems, that they might bear them to the new sovereign of the Jimiden. Through Fujifusa, the Supreme Highness spoke a word to them, saying, "When a new sovereign receives the throne from heaven, the former emperor himself must present the 3 imperial symbols, for thus has it been since ancient days. There have been rebellious subjects who have displayed their power in the 4 seas, and likewise there have been men who have held the realm in their hands for a while. But never have we heard of one how willfully seized these 3 imperial symbols to deliver them up to a new sovereign. Moreover, the sacred mirror has assuredly burned to ashes, for we cast it away in the main hall of Kasagi. The divine jewel may again become the guardian of the land, since we hung it onto the branch of a tree while we wandered through the mountains. But as for the treasured sword, we ourselves shall fall upon it if the military profane our person, heedless of the wrath of heaven, nor even briefly will we be separated from it." So he spoke, and in silence the 2 eastern commissioners departed with the men of Rokuhara. On the following day, these brought forth litter, thinking to bear the sovereign to Rokuhara. But resolutely the Supreme Highness said to them, "If it be not with the ceremony of former days, we shall not go back." Then they made ready the state litter with the golden phoenix on top, and prepared the imperial robes, for they could do neither. And when the emperor had remained for 3 days in the Baidoin, then indeed did he go forth to Rokuhara. Not as in former days was that imperial procession. Myriads of warriors encompassed the phoenix litter about, and the great nobles sat in shabalitters or rode on post horses. As they went toward the east in the 7th ward, ascended the Kamo River, and made haste toward Rokuhara, those who saw shed tears, and those who heard grievity in their hearts. Was it not sad? Yesterday, he sat on the imperial dais in the Shishinden, with 100 officials dressed in their ceremonial robes. Today, he goes down into the rude dwelling of the eastern barbarians, with the stern gaze of a myriad men of war afflicting the Taiheiki, his spirit. Truly, time passes and the world changes. Happiness vanishes as sadness comes. Not but a dream erreth days of life. There came to the emperor mind divers memories of his cloud-topping palace, since the place where it stood was not far distant. And he answered, "Though veiled be tears the crescent hide, we shall not forget the radiance of moon, lit nights together." Now the examiners, Takahashi Jayabu Seaman and Kasuya Saburo Maniki, came to Rokuhara on the 8th day of that month, and delivered each of the captives into the hands of a powerful chieftain. The first prince, which is to say the Central Affairs Minister and Prince off the Blood, they delivered up to Sasaki Hogan Takanabu. And the second prince, which is to say the Prince of the Blood of the Mighty Heian, they delivered up to Nagai Sakin Takahiro. And the Minamoto Middle Counselor, Tomyuki to Chikugo no Zenji Sadatomo. And the monk reformer of the southeast cloister to Hitachi, no Zenji Takatomo. The Madanakoji Middle Counselor Fujifusa was detained at Rokuhara as though under house arrest, so that he might attend upon the Supreme Highness, and likewise the Rokujo Lesser Marshal, Tadaki. On the 9th day, the emperor gave up the 3 imperial symbols to the new sovereign of the Jimiden. The Horikawa Great Counselor Tamachika and the Hino Middle Counselor Sukina received them and sent them to the Chikade Hall Sea Witch Eyes to say their sidence of the highnesses of the Jimiden. The guards were the Nagai Rectifier and Archivist, the Mizutani Military Guard, and another name, 4th Lute Biwa, derived from the shape of the aperture in front, had been lost. 85 degrees. Archivist, the Tamba Popular Affairs Grandee, and Sasaki Oki no Hagen Kiyotaka. And on the 13th day, the new sovereign came to the palace from the Chikades, that he might be placed upon the throne. The great nobles in his procession went forth in splendid raiment, while in helmets and armor the warriors of an escort guarded against untoward things. Now it came about that the former sovereign's courtiers were distressed and fearful of every happening, both those that were guilty of offense and those that were not, each thinking in his heart, "What grievous fate will befall me?" But those who served the new emperor rejoiced, both the upright and the false, thinking, "Now is our prosperity begun. The maturing seed becometh spreading tree. The falling flower forsakes the branch. Today's want is tomorrow's plenty. Yesterday's honor is today's disgrace." Although this was not the beginning of the world of cares, it was in these times that dreams could not be distinguished from reality. The Battle of Akasaka Castle. No man of the mighty host from the distant eastern lands was willing to enter the capital. So sorely were their spirits mortified because Kasagi Castle had fallen before they were Kamido, the province of Omi. All took their way instead toward Akasaka Castle, where Kusunoki Masashige was shut up, some crossing the mountains of Iga and Disei, others following the Uji and Daigo roads. When these had passed beyond the Ishi River, they beheld the castle. Surely this was a stronghold of hasty devising. The ditch was not a proper ditch, and there was but a single wooden wall, plastered over with mud. Likewise, in size, the castle was not more than 100 or 200 yards around, with but 20 or 30 towers within, made ready in haste. Of those who saw it, not one but thought, "Ah, what a pitiable spectacle the enemy presents. Even if we were to hold this castle in one hand and throw, we would be able to throw it. Let us hope that in some strange manner Kusunoki the Taiheiki will endure for at least a day, that by taking booty and winning honor we may obtain future rewards." Drawing near, the 300,000 riders got down from their horses, one after another, jumped into the ditch, stood below the towers, and competed to be the first to enter the castle. Now by nature Masashige was a man who would scheme in his tent to defeat an enemy 1,000 leagues distant, one whose counsels were as subtle as though sprung from the brain of C.A. Chenping or Chang Liang. Wherefore had he kept 200 mighty archers within the castle, and had given 300 riders to his brother Shichard and Wada Gord Masate outside in the mountains. Yet the attackers, all unwitting, rushed forward together to the banks of the ditch on the four sides, resolved to bring down the castle in a single assault. Then from tower tops and windows, the archers shot furiously with arrowheads aligned together, smiting more than 1,000 men in an instant. And greatly amazed, the Eastern warriors said, "No, no. From the look of things at this castle, it will never fall in a day or two. Let us take time before going against it, that we may establish camps and battle, offices and form separate parties." They drew back from the attack a little, took off their horses' saddles, cast aside their armor, and rested in their camps. In the mountains, Kusunoki Shikare 6 and Wada Gord said, "The time is right." They made 2 parties of the 300 horsemen, came out from the shelter of the trees on the eastern and western slopes with 2 fluttering banners, whereon were depicted chrysanthemum and watercrest of the Kusunoki house, and advanced quietly toward the enemy, urging their horses forward in the swirling mist. The attackers hesitated doubtfully. Are they enemies or friends? They thought. Dubs, History of the Former Han Dynasty, Baltimore, American Council of Learned Societies, 1938, I 106. Shouting in wedge-shaped formations. They smote the center of the 300,000 horsemen spread out like clouds, or mist, broke into them in all directions, and cut them down on every side. And the attackers' hosts were powerless to form to give battle, so great was their bewilderment. Next within the castle, 3 gates opened altogether, wherefrom 200 horsemen galloped forth side by side to let fly a multitude of arrows from bows pulled back to the utmost limits. Although the attackers were a mighty host, they were confounded utterly by these few enemies, so that they clamored aloud. Some mounted tethered horses and beat them with their stirrups, seeking to advance. Others fixed arrows to unstrung bows and tried vainly to shoot. 2 or 3 men took up a single piece of armor and disputed it, pulling against each other. Though a lord wassailed, his vassals knew nothing of it. Though a father wassailed, his sons aided him not, but like scattered spiderlings they retreated to the Ishi River. For half a league along their way, there was no space where a foot might tread, by reason of their abandoned horse and arms. To be sure, great gains came suddenly to the common folk of T6J6 district. Perhaps the proud Eastern warriors thought in their hearts that Kusunoki's strategy could not be despised, since blundering unexpectedly, they had been defeated in the first battle. For though they went forth against Handa and Narahara, they did not seek to attack the castle again quickly, but consulted together and made a resolution, saying, "Let us remain a while in this place, that led by men acquainted with the home provinces, we may cut down trees on the mountains, burn houses, and guard thereby against warriors waiting in reserve to fall upon us. Then may we deck the castle with tranquil spirits." But there were many among the men of Hamon Shibuya who had lost fathers and sons in the fighting. These roused themselves up, saying, "What is the use of living? Though we go alone, let us gallop forth to die in battle." The local inhabitants who took possession of what was abandoned. The Taiheiki and their Uppanal theatres took heart as well, and galloped forward eagerly. Now Akasaka Castle might not be attacked easily on Theast, where terraced rice fields extended far up the mountainside. But on 3 sides the land was flat. Likewise there was but a single ditch and wall. All the attackers were contemptuous, thinking, "No matter what demons may bainside, it cannot be much of an affair." When they drew near again, they went forward quickly into the ditch to the opposite bank, pulled away the obstacles and made ready to enter. Yet within the castle there was no sound. Then the attackers thought in their hearts, "As it was yesterday, so will it be today. After wounding many men with arrows to confuse us, they will send other warriors to fight in our midst." They counted out 100,000 riders to go to the mountains in the rear, while the remaining 200,000 compassed the castle round about like thickly growing rice, hemp, bamboo, or reeds. Yet from within the castle, not an arrow was released, nor was any man seen. At last, the attackers laid hold of the wall on the four sides to climb over it, filled with excitement. But thereupon men within the castle cut the ropes supporting that wall, all at the same time, for it was a double wall, built to let the outside fall down. More than 1,000 off, the attackers became as though crushed by a weight, so that only their eyes moved as the defenders threw down logs and boulders onto them. And in this day, fighting more than 700 off them were slain. Unwilling to attack again because of the bitterness of the first 2 days of fighting, for 4 or 5 days, the eastern hosts merely besieged the castle from camps hard by. Truly were they without pride, to watch thus idly from a nearby place. At last the attackers spoke among themselves, saying, "Previously we attacked in the fierceness of our valor, not carrying shields or preparing weapons of assault, wherefore we suffered unforeseen injury. Let us go against them now with a different method." All commanded the making of shields with toughened hide on their faces, such as might not be smashed through easily, and with these upheld they went against the castle once more, saying, "There can be no difficulty about jumping across to the wall, since the banks are nothai, naris thedich deep. Yet will not this wall also drop down upon us?" They spoke with fearful hearts, reluctant to seize upon the wall lightly. All went down into the water of the ditch, laid hold upon the wall with grapnels, and pulled at it. But when the wall was about to fall, those within the castle took ladles with handles 10 or 20 feet long, dipped up boiling water, and poured it onto them. The hot water passed through the holes in their helmet tops, ran down from the edges of their shoulder guards, and burned their bodies so grievously that they fled panic, stricken, throwing down their shields and grapnels. How shameful it was. Although no man of them was slain, there were as many as 200 or 300 persons who could not stand up from the burns on their hands and feet, or who lay down with sick bodies. So it was that, whenever the attackers advanced with new devisings, those within the castle defended against them with changed stratagems. Wherefore in consultation together the attackers said, "From this time on, let us starve them, for we can do no other." They forbore utterly to do battle, but only built towers in their camps, lined up obstacles, and laid down a siege. Soon the warriors in the castle grew weary off spirit, since there was no diversion for them. Nor was their food sufficient, since Kusunoki had built the castle in haste. The battle having begun and the siege commenced, within 20 days the stores were eaten up, nor did food remain for more than 4 or 5 days. Then Masashige spoke a word to his men, saying, "In divers battles of late have woe-reached the foe, whose the Taiheiki slain are beyond counting, but these things are as nothing in the eyes of so mighty a host. Moreover, the castle's food is eaten up, and no other warriors will come to deliver us. Assuredly, I will not cherish life in the hour of need, that from the beginning have been steadfast for his majesty's sake, anticipating therein the warriors of the realm. But the true man of courage is cautious in the face of difficulties, and deliberates before acting. 7 degrees I will flee this castle for a time, causing the enemy to believe that I have taken my life, so that they may go away rejoicing. When they are gone, I will come forward to fight, and if they return, I will go deep into the mountains. When I have harassed the eastern hosts for 5 times in this manner, will they not grow weary? This is a plan for destroying the enemy in safety." "What are your views?" all agreed. "It ought to be so." Then quickly within the castle they dug a mighty hole 7 feet deep, filling it with 20 or 30 bodies of the slain Sihu were fallen down dead into the ditch in great numbers, whereon they piled up charcoal and firewood. And they awaited a night of pouring rain and driving wind. Perhaps because Masashige had found favor in the sight of heaven, suddenly a harsh wind camerizing the sand, accompanied by a rain violent enough to pierce bamboo. The night was exceedingly dark, and all the enemy in their camps were sheltered behind curtains. This indeed was the awaited night. Leaving a man in the castle to light a blaze when they were fled away safely 500 or 600 yards, the defenders cast off their armor, assumed the guise of attackers, and fled away calmly by 3s and 5s, passing in front of enemy battle offices and beside enemy sleeping places. It came about that the eyes of an enemy fell upon Masashige, where he passed before the stables of Nagasaki. The man challenged him, saying, "What person passes before his battle office in stealth, not announcing himself?" In haste, Masashige passed beyond that place, calling back, "I am a follower of the Grand Marshal who has taken the wrong road." From the Analects. "And I, a suspicious fellow indeed," thought the man. "Assuredly, he is a stealer of horses. I shall shoot him down." He ran up close and shot Masashige full in the body. Butyl thought arrow looked to have driven deep at the height of the elbow joint. It turned over and flew back again without touching the naked flesh. Later, when that arrow's track was observed, men saw that it had struck an amulet wherein was preserved the Canon Sutra, which Masashige had trusted and read for many years. Its arrowhead had stopped in the 2-line poem, wholeheartedly praising the name. How strange it was. When in this manner Masashige had escaped death from a certain death arrowhead, he fled to a safe place more than half a league distant. And looking back, he saw that the warrior had lighted fires in the castle's battle offices, faithful to his covenant. The hosts of the attackers were seized with amazement at the sight of the flames. The castle has fallen," they shouted exultantly. "Let no man be spared. Let none escape." When the flames died away, they saw a mighty hole inside the castle, piled up with charcoal, wherein lay the burned bodies of many men. And then not a man of them but spoke word-soft praise, saying, "How pitiful! Masashige has ended his life. Though he was an enemy, his was a glorious death, well befitting a warrior." Sakurayama's suicide. The lay monk Sakurayama Shurd was thinking that he would cross into Bichiai, or perhaps go forth to conquer Iki, since already he had taken half the province of Bingo. But when men came bearing tidings of the fall of Kasagi Castle and Kusunoki's suicide, all the warriors of his following fled save 20 persons, kinsmen Andre Tainers of many years' service. In those days, the Hodge 6 Iacute family were exceeding great, and there the Taiheiki power extended over all the land. Wherefore Sakurayama Shurd thought in his heart, "Not even a near kinsman can hide me, nor even less may I rely upon a stranger. Rather than fall into the hands of men how will expose my corpse." Going forth to the foremost shrine of the province, he stabbed his dearly beloved son, who was in the 8th year off his life, and his faithful wife in her 27th year. Then he lighted a fire on the altar, sliced open his belly, and suffered the flames to devour him. And his 23 kinsmen and retainers did the same. Not unthinkingly did Sakurayama single out this altar from an abundance of places, whereon to kindle the flames that swallowed up his body. Sorrowing to see the decay of the shrine where he had bowed his head through many years, he had made a great vow to restore it. Yet he had not the means for the performance of so sore a task, but only the resolve. It was solely to accomplish his vow that he had joined himself to the imperial plot. Now perhaps the gods denied Sakurayama's right to be their servant, since the hour of his death approached, while the vow remained unaccomplished. But so it was that he burned his body at that shrine, thinking with valorous heart, "Pound we destroy this shrine by fire, the court and military can do no other than restore it. Though my body descend to the depths of hell, there will be nothing to regret if my vow is accomplished. Good and devil alike are but different means of salvation, as we may learn from the vows of bodhisattvas come to earth to succor living beings." Assuredly, Sakurayama believed deeply, "Through my crime in this life, I shall meet the Savior Maitreya in the life to come." Kojima Hoshi, Taiheiki, Chapter 4. The captives of Kasagi are put to death or sent into exile. The matter of Lord Fujifusa, now came to the season when men busy themselves with the ending year, and for a time the canted turned aside from the matter of the Kasagi captives. But when in the new year the great nobles bowed themselves down in front of the throne, and the military took up the work of government again, then indeed to the capital there came 2 Eastern commissioners, Kyudo Jurdsimano, J6, and the lay monk of Shinano, Nikado Kachin, who rendered judgments at Rokuhara according to the decisions of the canted, naming the names of men to be slain and laying down provinces of exile. According as their guilt was heavy or light, so they condemned the captives to exile or prison, the princely abbots of Mount Hiei and the southern capital, the great nobles, and even officers of the guards. But of Asukjiro Shijinori it was ordered, let his head be struck off at the 6th Ward River bed. Likewise the military laid hands upon the Madanik Doji great counselor Lord Nobufusa, making him a prisoner for the offenses of his sons Fujifusa and Sufusa. Now in the hearing of Nobufusa, whose days were more than 70 years, men said that the emperor, the sacred master of a myriad chariots, would go forth in exile to a distant island. Of the great nobles who had served the former emperor, the righteous, even as the transgressors, turned away from their duties to dwell in seclusion, or were bereft of their offices to taste the bitterness of want. Who knows whether it be illusion or reality, when men's fortunes alter in such wise? Truly times change and things pass away. Grief follows upon joy, and joy upon grief. In a world of sorrow, what can happiness signify, or what can lamentation avail? Lord Tom Yuki, the Gen Middle Counselor, was sent forth toward Kamakura in the keeping of the lay monk Sasaki Dayo. Perhaps Tom Yuki knew that he would be struck down on the way, for at Osaka Barrier he wrote, "Since I shall not come back, never again shall I journey past Osaka Barrier." On crossing Sita Bridge he wrote, "Living but a short day in this world of dreams, I crossed the long bridge of Sita." Then truly at Kashiwabara in Omi, an overseer came down upon them, pressing Sasaki Doyo to fall upon this noble, since from the beginning it was ordained that he should perish on the way. Dayo went before his lordship the middle counselor, saying, "By some karma tie from an earlier life, this lay monk was chosen before all others to be your guardian. As though devoid of mercy, I must say to you that your time is at hand, but indeed a person like myself is without power. Many days have I delayed, awaiting tidings of your pardon, but now urgently from the Kantei there has come a command to destroy you. Please console yourself by remembering that all things are the results of the deeds of previous lives." So he spoke, pressing his sleeve to his face, and his lordship, the middle counselor, likewise wiped away the tears that would not stay back, saying, "Truly it is so. And truly I shall not forget what has happened of late, even in the next world as regards my death. It is said that the imperial lord of a myriad chariots must himself go away to a distant island, wherefore there can be no hope for lesser men. But indeed it would be impossible to repay you for such kindness as this, even were I to continue to live. 1 Yenji means that he will remember Sasaki's considerate behavior." So he spoke, and silently took up an inkstone and paper. When he had written a long letter, he said again to the lay monk, "Please give it to a messenger to take to a certain lady." As the day was ending they brought forth Tom Yuki litter, put him inside, and bore him to a pine grove at the edge of the mountains south of the Takade Road. Then seated upright on an animal skin, Tom Yuki again took up the inkstone, and tranquilly composed a farewell verse in praise of the Buddhist law. 42 years have I lived in the mortal sphere of non-action. Heaven and earth disappear, as now I bid farewell to life. He wrote, the 19th day of the 6th month, laid aside the brush, and sat erect with his hands folded together. And when Tago Roker's seaman, no, J6 went around behind him, at once his noble head fell forward. It would be idle to call it pitiful. With tears the lay monk made smoke of Tom Yuki's body, and performed divers good works to pray for his enlightenment. In his heart he thought, how extremely regrettable it is. Morning and evening did this lord serve the former emperor zealously, even from the days when his majesty wast princely vice, governor of the Dazefu. Day and night he labored faithfully, distinguishing himself beyond others. Wherefore by degrees his estate was raised, and the emperor loved him greatly. With what sorrow will his majesty hear that Tom Yuki has perished in this manner? Now there was one Kagashi Gorei Haideman, no, Jay, the guardian of the crossing of Ohai, no, Mikado and Abura Koji. This Kagashi seized the Tono sign of the law Reiichi on the 21st day of that month and sent him to Rokyubara, and Nakatoki, the governor of Echigo, spoke to Reiichi through Seitei Jard Haie, saying, "It is indeed strange and rash that one such as you devises against us, where even the master Ophal the realm could not prevail. Lawless beyond measures, a man hawkeries a map of Roku Heritastiel, away the former emperor. Criminal beyond comparison is such a Tutwa streets in the capital. 8A high, ranking Buddhist monk who was conspiring to rescue Go-Daigo, the Taiheiki man. There is abundant testimony of your conspiracy. Describe your plotting fully, that we may report all to the cants." The sign of the law answered him, saying, "There is nothing under the vast heavens that is not the monarch's land, Nari's there, a person anywhere to the end soft the earth who is not of the monarch's folk. Can there be anyone who does not grieve for the former emperor? Can anyone who is human regis in his distress? What is strange about planning to carry away the august person for his majesty's sake? What is rash about consulting together to punish wickedness? Nor was I wrong to know of the emperor's desires from the start, or to go forth toward his abiding place at Kasagi. But just as I left the capital, the castle's defenses fell, and the loyal warriors were defeated. Wherefore I talked to Lord Tom Yuki, received an imperial command from his hands, and sent it to the warriors of divers provinces. These are the things I have done." So indeed he answered him. Then at Rokuhara many opinions were spoken. The Shinanale monk of the Nikkei 6 family came forward and said, "Assuredly Reichit must die, for his guilt is beyond doubt. Yet would it not be well to ask about those that were in league with him, and likewise to send tidings of this matter to the Kanto?" Nagai Uma no, Suka said, "By all means let it be so. Such a serious thing as this ought indeed to be told to the Kanto." And all agreed that it ought to be so. They delivered up the sign of the law to be imprisoned by Kaga no Zenji, the guard of the Gajei, Kaiegoku crossing, and sent tidings thereof to the Kanto. As for the Terra magistrate Narasuk, he was delivered up to the lay monk Kawago Njie of Mikawa. Men said that he would go to Kamakura, but he perished on the way at Hayakawajiri in the province of Sagami. Likewise was it said that pardons had been granted the chamberlain and middle counselor Lord Kinakira, and the chief of the police commissioners Lord Sanyo. Yet watchfully the military held them in the hands of Hatano Kazuk, no, Suknabumichi and Sasaki Saburo Seaman, no J6, without returning them to their homes. The regulator and great counselor Lord Morakata was banished to the land of Shimesa, where he was delivered into the hands of Chiba, no, Suk. In no wise did Morakata grieve thereat, since long ago in his 15th year he had given himself over to Japanese and Chinese learning, indifferent to worldly honors. In his heart he thought, in the disturbances late in the years of Teen, Pao Tu Shao Ling, the poet of glorious Tiang, wrote of the bitterness of a strange place. The road passes beyond the Yen Ye River, my hair droops wearily. The sky drops down to the blue-green waves, a single fishing boat. Likewise a sage of poetry in Japan was sent away to the province of Oki, Ono no Takamura, who sang of his exile, heart to fisherfolk plying their lines. My boat rode out over the vast sea, passing beyond Mani Isles. The said did not lament the lamentable, for their minds understood the law of change, Neither did they sorrow when sadness was present, for their hearts were acquainted with the inconstancy of fortune. Moreover, indeed, is it said, when the ruler is distressed, the subject is shamed. When the ruler is shamed, the subject dies. Registered, even though my bones were to be pickled in brine, or my body rent by carriages, there would be nothing to regret. Headed not mourn at all, but pass the days peacefully, amusing himself from time to time with composing verses. Earnestly he said that he longed to become a monk, since he had renounced the world of men entirely, and the Sagami lay monk agreed, saying, "There is no harm in it." Thus, before his 40th year, he shaved off his raven hair to become a man of holy order. But then suddenly, he died of a disease in the early days of the disturbance of Genko, or so we have heard. As for Sufusa, the secretary of the crown prince's household, he was exiled to the province of Hitachi, in the charge of the Naganuma governor of Suruga. The middle counselor Fujifusa was Degrees, Tufu, who wandered through the provinces for many years after the rebellion of Enlu Shan in 755. The Taiheiki exiled to the same province, where he was delivered into the hands of Oda Mimbu, no, Teia. Although the sorrow of banishment was equally the sorrow of all, pitiful beyond others were the feelings of Lord Fujifusa. For in those days there was a lady in the inner princess's service, the fairest among women, called Lady Seaman no Suk. On certain occasion, the Supreme Highness journeyed forth to the mansion of the Northern Hills, was it perhaps an autumn during the years of Genkyo. There were dances to celebrate his coming, while copyright below the hall musicians waved their sleeves and entertainers presented their songs, and the voices singing the quick songs were like gold and jade, clear and bright. Being commanded to play upon the lute, this Lady Seaman, no, Suk, played the waves of the blue sea. As a bush warbler in a flowering tree was the music of her playing, as a choked stream fretting against ice. Endlessly the strains obeyed the changing rhythm, now gay, now wrathful, now fresh, now weak. Altogether she struck the four strings with a sound of rending silk, and struck again, until the clear voice of the melody was like a swallow soaring over a bridge, or a fish leaping in the water. When the middle counselor gazed upon this lady from a distance, secretly he began to love her with a passion which increased daily. But for 3 years he abode in silence, passing his nights in lamentation and his days in melancholy yearning, since there was no means whereby he might speak to her. Truly it was a very long time. In the end, did he not perhaps form a fleeting bond with her, unseen by the eyes of others? For as in a dream did those two exchange pillows on a certain night. Yet on the following night the Supreme Highness fled away in haste to Kasagi, and Fujifusa, putting away his high, crowned cap and robe for armor, made ready to accompany him. In his heart Fujifusa thought, who knows whether I shall ever see the lady again? How well most of the description of the ladies playing is borrowed from Po Chit, I's famous Song of the Lute, P. H. Sing. I remember her face on that night of dreams. If we could meet but once, so he thought, and went to the lady dwelling place in the western wing. Those within said to him, even now has Lady Seaman, no, Suk, gone forth to the mansion of the Northern Hills, in answer to a summons from the inner princess. The middle counselor cut off a lock of his hair and left it there with a poem, saying, since we have lived until a time when all is Confucia's tangled black hair, look upon this as a final memento. When lady returned, she beheld the lock of hair and the verse. Reading she wept, and weeping sherried, and sorely distressed she unrolled and rolled the paper 100 and 1,000 times, blotting out the writing with tears of passionate grief. Were I but to hear off his abiding place, assuredly would I wander forth to seek him, she said, though it be to moors where tigers crouch, or to bays that whales approach. Yet she could learn nothing of him, nor might she know whether they two would meet again in this world. At last, unable to bear her affliction longer, she added a verse to the middle counselor, saying, next to my body I place this precious message from my lord, a keepsake for the afterlife. and she threw herself into the depths of the Oi River with the lock of hair inside her sleeve. How oidiful it was. Even thus was the woman of Tiang, who sang, "For the sake of a day of my lord's favor, I destroy this body that would endure 100 years." Now the inspector and great counselor Lord Kintoshi was sent to the province of Kazusa, and the monk reformer Shjun of the southeast cloister was sent to the province of Shimsa. Men said that the monk reformer Shungar of mine would go to the province of Tisashima. Yet suddenly there was a change, and he was banished to the province of Nagato. And the fourth prince was banished to the province of Tajima, in the charge of Oda Hogan, the protector of the province. The Taiheiki, the verse of the 7-year-old prince. The 9th imperial prince remained in the capital in the care of Lord Nobuakira, the Nakamikado middle counselor, since he was yet a child. Wise beyond ordinary men, this prince of 7 years many times entreated Nobuakira sadly, saying, "Wish should I alone remain in the capital, when men say that the Supreme Highness must go away to the uninhabited land of Oki. Alas, that I too could be sent to a place close to the province where my lord will reside. Although we would not be together, at least I would receive tidings of him." So he would speak, unable to hold back his tears. Again he said, "My lord is shut up at Shirakawa, that I have heard of as a place close to the capital. Why cannot Nobuakira take me there?" Restraining tears, Lord Nobuakira said to him, "If it were but a place as close as the imperial palace, there would be no difficulty about my going with you. But Shirakawa is many hundreds of leagues distant, wherefore indeed the monk knows 6 in rote. Though I left the capital in spring mists, autumn winds blow at Shirakawa barrier. From this you may know that Shirakawa is a remote and impassable barrier." Restraining his tears, the prince was silent for a time. But because he thought in his heart, "Nobuakira is unwilling to take me," soon he spoke a word. "The Shirakawa barrier of the poem is in no wise akin to the Shirakawa River of the capital, but is a famous place of Oshu. These are both poems which prove that the places are different, though the names are the same. Very well. Henceforth I shall hold my thoughts in my heart without speech." So he spoke in resentment against Nobuakira. Thereafter the prince left off entreating, nor did he speak of yearning after his father. No, it came about that this prince was standing dispirited at Nobuakira's middle gate, when faintly from afar he heard a temple's evening bell. And he composed, "Passing the days in constant grief, how I long for my lord at the sound of the sunset bell." Because the heart finds words, this was a poem such as a master might write. Of the Maihoin, the first prince, the central affairs minister prince of the blood, was sent away to Tosa, no, hotter on the 8th day of the 3rd month, with Sasaki Hogan Takanabu guarding him on the way. This prince had looked up to the sky and fallen down to the earth, praying, "Let me be slain and buried in the moss on Lung Mensmore, registered if only I may remain close to the capital." But then to his ears came the converse of warriors of his guard, who said, "The former sovereign was sent away into exile yesterday." And he lost faith in prayer, mourning deeply. As a multitude of warriors drew near to the middle gate with his litter, he recited, weeping, "My streaming tears no weir restrains, oh whither fares this drifting life?" On the same day, the 2nd rank prince of the blood of the Myohoin was banished to the province of Sanuki, with Nagai Takahiro guarding him on the way. This prince's heart was heavy within him, since it was noised abroad that yesterday the Supreme Highness had gone a Uyinto exile, and the first prince today. Even as the grief of the 2 princes was the same, so the road's degrees a reference to a poem by Poche, which speaks of a burial at Lung Men. The Taiheiki that they followed were not different, yet each went forth alone. Sad indeed was the august heart of the prince of the Maihoin. In the beginning, the princes went down separately from the capital, but on the evening of the 11th day they arrived at Hidgo, both the first prince and the prince of the blood of the Myotin. Since it was to Shikoku that both of these princes were banished, They prayed in their hearts, "At least let us be in the same province, that bits of news to comfort our anguish may be brought by the tale, bearing wind." Yet it was not to be. In a fragile boat, the first prince rowed out over the unsteady sea to Tosa, no, Hata, where men built him a room beside the house of Arii Saber 6 seamen, no, J6. Mountains rose up on the south of Hata, and the sea lay low on the north. Damp on his door the piney dew roused him to bitter tears, while on the beach the noisy waves stole from his eyes the path of dreams that alone might lead to home. For 1,000 days from the day off his coming, thrice daily, he lighted ritual fires to pray for the former emperor's return to the capital, or did he perchance athinkto attain deliverance thereby? Taking a different course, the prince of the Mayohoin traveled by land to Fukage in Kojima district in the province of Bizen, whence by ship he went forth to Takuma in Sanuki. This too was a place close to the shore, where poisonous fogs encompassed his august person about, and tainted sea vapors were an affliction upon him. Evening soundsofishers, songs and oaten flutes, autumnal views of moonlit seas and cloud-bound hills, these and all else that touched his ears and ice-grieved his spirit and drew forth his tears. Now at Kamakura, it was ordained that the former emperor should be exiled to the land of Oki, according to the precedent of Shakia. Yet perhaps even the men of the Kanto feared to deal scornfully with an emperor, for they conspired together, saying, "Let us place the eldest princely scion of Go-Fushimi in upon the throne, that he may issue a decreto exile the former sovereign." Likewise they said, "This emperor must not hope to sit upon the throne again. He must enter into holy orders before he goes forth into exile." And they came bearing clove, dyed garments of brown. Yet the former sovereign said, "Not soon shall we lay aside worldly things." Nor would he put off the imperial dragon robes, but bathed himself daily in the morning, purified his transient dwelling, and worshipped the grand shrine of Ise at a place modeled after the altar in the Saradin. Though there are not 2 suns in the heavens, there were 2 princes in the land, and the Hojo were sore perplexed thereat. Truly it was because of a certain belief that the former emperor acted in this wise. Qian Ming Kai visits the palace. In a former day, around the spring of the first year of Genkyo, there came to Japan from the land of Yian a wise meditation teacher called Qian Ming Kai. Although no son of heaven had ever before deigned to receive a foreign monk in audience, the emperor commanded this meditation teacher to enter the palace to speak of the Buddhist law. For His Majesty was pleased to look with favor upon the Zen teachings, and sought knowledge of them in manna places. The great ministers and courtiers arrayed official robes, and carefully the controllers and scholars made ready to stand in attendance, that our court might not be shamed through lack of ceremony. When the hour had grown late, and tapers had been set up, the meditation teacher entered the palace. The Suprema Highness came into the Shishinden, where he advanced to the jade seat. The meditation teacher bowed low 3 times, burned a pinch of 1, a building in the great palace enclosure, the emperor's usual place of reseance, the Taiheiki incense, and wished the emperor eternal life. And Qian Ming Kai answered, "As all the stars of heaven bow to the north, so among mankind no water fails to pay court to the east." When Thetok of the law was ended, the meditation teacher bowed and withdrew. On the following day, an imperial commissioner, Lord Sanyo, the chief of the police commissioners, came to confer the title of meditation teacher upon Qian Ming Kai. The meditation teacher said to Sanyo, "I have seen in your master's face that the dragon soaring on high will fall, yet assuredly will he sit upon the throne a second time." Now indeed was the dragon fallen, since this ruler was seized by his military subjects. But by reason of the physiognomizing Goth, the meditation teacher, the Supreme Highness believed trustingly that he would ascend the imperial throne again. Because of this, he insisted that he would not soon take holy orders. The grief of the inner princess. After it was made known that the former sovereign would be sent away to the province of Oki on the 7th day of the 3rd month, The inner princess went forth to the imperial abiding place at Rokuhara in the darkness of night. When she drew near to the middle gate, the Supreme Highness came out to her and sherilled up the blinds of her carriage. The emperor's heart was filled with thoughts of the time to come. When leaving the inner princess in the capital, he would wander forth to listen to the waves at travel hostels and gaze at the moon on distant beaches. Likewise, when she imagined the Supreme Highness far off in a strange land, the inner princess was as one wandering without hope in an endless night. Had they sought for the sake of remembrancito, say all that was in their minds, yet would unspoken words have remained at dawn, though the night had been 1,000 autumn nights in one. Wherefore they uttered no words, since not by speech might the sadness of their hearts be made known, but bitterly wept until the sinking of the pitiless pale moon. Then, the dawn being near, the inner princess went back, saying tearfully, "My only thought, Akral life, when will you end?" And grieving sorely, she returned to the palace. How miserable was her heart, that feared never to meet him again. The former sovereign goes into exile. On the 7th day of the 3rd month, 500 horsemen guarded the streets, commanded by Chiba no Suk Sadaten, Yamagord Seaman, and Sasaki Sato no Hagen, the lay monk Doyo. And they took the former sovereign away, toward the land of Oki. In company with his majesty, there went forth none but the Akijo chief archivist Yukafusa and the Rokuj lesser marshal Tadaki, and the lady Samido minister to his needs. For the rest, he was encompassed about by armored warriors carrying bows and arrows, who took the carriage creaking westward through the 7th ward and down Higashi no Tiden, while the people of the capital stood lined up in byways. The high and the low and the men and the women, fearlessly filling the streets with their voices, saying, "How astonishing it is that like a subject the rightful lord of all the realm is sent away into exile. No longer will fortune look kindly upon the military, so like infants wailing for their mothers they cried and lamented." All who heard were grieved, and the very warriors of the guard wept into their armor sleeves. When the former emperor had passed beyond the post station of Sakurai, he came to Hachiman Shrine. He commanded them to put, and thought with comforted heart. Terra no Kiyomori, the great subject of the Grand Preceptorate, held the 4 seas in the palm of his hand and moved Thessaly of Hyan to this low and damp place, yet soon he was destroyed. Heaven's punishment fell upon the man who arrogantly sought to set aside those above him. Gazing ahead to Anano Moor, he passed beside the bay of Suma and thought again. When long ago Genji, the Grand Marshal, brought Shamido, the lady of the misty moonlit night, it was at this bay that he suffered in exile through the autumn's soft 3 years. How natural it was that he lamented those autumns away from home, when it seemed that the waves were coming all the way up to him, and his pillow grew wet with sudden tears. When it went forth from Akashi Bay in the morning mist, dimly the coast of Awaji fell away, and high the incoming waves rolled up, as he journeyed toward the wind-swept pine of Takasago, Nuno. Passing beyond Sujisaka, he came into the province of Mimisaka C4. Truly, he crossed over many mountain sand drivers. Likewise, he passed beyond Sara Mountain in the district of Kume. Far distant among the clouds, he beheld a snowy mountain peak, though indeed it was not the season of snow. He summoned a warrior of the guard, asking that he might know the name of that mountain. "It is the Grand Mountain of Hoki," the man said. Whereupon the emperor stopped the august litter for a while, and with reverent heart recited holy words. Quickly he set forth in the mornings, when cock crows greeted 8 established by Terra no Kiyomori during his brief hegemony. It was soon abandoned. From the tale of Genji, the moon setting behind a thatched roof, and horses' feet trampled the frost on wooden bridges. Many were the days of his journeying, until on the 13th day of his going forth from the capital, he camido the harbor of Mio in the land of Izumo. There a boat was matter ready, and he waited for a fair wind to cross over the sea. The matter of Bingo no Saburo Takanori, The fighting between Wu and Yi in those days in the province of Bizen, there lived a person called Kojima Bingo no Sabure Takanori. When the Supreme Highness went to Kasagi, this Takanori thought to rally warriors for his sake. Yet before the thing was accomplished, he heard of Kasagi's fall and Kusunoki's suicide, and losing heart fell idle. Registered so in days of old when the northern barbarians slew Dukai of Wei, his minister Hung Yen could not bear to look, but cut open his own belly and put Dukai's liver inside, perishing to requite his master's favors. He who sees what he's right and fails to act is lacking in manhood. Registered come. Let us go to a place where the emperor will pass by, that we may take him away, raise a mighty host, and leave namestow posterity, though our corpsely exposed on the battlefield. And all his loyal kinsmen agreed. Now these thought, let us await our opportunity at a steep place on the road. They lay down and hid themselves on the peak of Funasaka Mountain, on the border between Bizen and the land of Harima, waiting eagerly. But because the emperor's coming was exceedingly slow, they sent forth a man running to look upon the procession. And the man saw that the warriors of the guard did not. The barbarians devoured all of Dukai except his liver. The Taiheiki followed the Sanade road, but took the sovereign along the Sanand 6 road from Imashuku in Harima. Wherefore, Takanori's preparations were set at naught. Again Takanori said, "If it be thus, let us wait at Sujisaka in the land of Mimasaka, where there are excellent deep mountains." Going forth obliquely from Three Stones Mountain, they crossed the clouds of trackless hills to Sujisaka. But the people of Sujisaka said, "Already the Supreme Highness has entered in no show." And thereupon the kinsmen scattered, for they could do neither. "In some way, I should like to convey a thought to the august ears," said Takanori in his heart. He put on coarse garments and stealthily drew near to the former sovereign to await an opportunity, yet in no wise might he meet him. And therefore he whittled away the bark from a great cherry tree in the courtyard of the emperor's lodging place, whereon he wrote a stanza of Chinese poetry in bold characters. "Heaven will not destroy Ku Chin. A fan li is not lacking today." Now, although the warriors of the guard beheld this verse in the morning, they knew not the meaning of it. "What is this and who has written it?" they said. When tidings thereof were borne to the august ears, quickly the Supreme Highness recognized the meaning, and a smiley-off pleasure appeared on his dragon countenance. But the warriors were without suspicion, since they did not know the meaning. The author next relates a famous episode from Chinese history in order to explain Takanori's illusion. Now let us speak of this poem's inner meaning. Long ago in a different land, there were 2 countries called Wu and Yi. The princes of those countries would not govern virtuously, but strove to rule over others by the strength of their arms. Wu sought to attack and seize Yi, and likewise Yi sought to destroy and annex Wu, and it was thus for many years. Ever did Wu and Yi strive together, winning and losing by turns, and their enmity descended from father to son, since it is shameful to live under the same heaven as the enemy of one's father. When the days of Chu, registered, were far gone, the prince off the country of Wu wascalled Fu, Chi king of Wu, and the prince of the country of Yi was called Ku, Chin king of Yi. It came about that the king of Yi summoned his minister Enfan Li and spoke a word to him, saying, "Wu is the enemy of my ancestors. If without attacking Wu I pass the years in doing vain things, the men of the realm will make a mock of me. Likewise, I will shame the dead bodies of my ancestors beneath the moss of the grave. It is in my mind to gather together the country's warriors, cross over into the land of Wu, and destroy Fu, Chi king of Wu, that my ancestors may be avenged. Do you remain in this country for a while to guard the national altars?" So he spoke, but Fan Li answered him with words of admonition, saying, "I myself believe that it will in no wise be possible for Yi to destroy Wu now. If we count the warriors of the 2 countries, Wu possesses 200,000 horsemen, while Yi possesses but 100,000. Truly one cannot contend against the large with the small. This is the first reason why we cannot destroy Wu. Likewise, the season is inauspicious for chastisement, it being the beginning of spring. Spring and summer are seasons of yang, when loyalty is rewarded, but autumn and winter are seasons of yin, when evildoers are punished. This is the second reason why we cannot destroy Wu. Likewise, that country is strong to which wise men render allegiance, and I have heard that there is a person called Wu Tzu, Hse among the subjects of Fu Chi King of Wu, one who with deep wisdom wins the hearts of others, and with far-sighted prudence admonishes the ruler. While he remains in the country of Wu, it will be impossible to destroy Wu. This is the third reason. The unicorn bears flesh on its horn and does not present a fierce aspect. The concealed dragon hibernates during the 3 months of winter to await the heavens of the winter solstice. If my lord would make Wu and Yi as one, if he would conquer the Taiheiki, the middle kingdom, and sit facing south upon the imperial throne, then he must hide his warriors a while from men's sight, concealing his arms until the coming of an auspicious time. The king of Yi was angered exceedingly thereat. TT is said in the collected ritual that one may not remain under the same heaven with the enemy of one's father, he said. Now that I have attained the years of a man, shall I not be humbled before others if I share the light of the sun and moon with Wu, instead of destroying her? Nor is there reason in your 3 impossibilities that you speak to stop me when I would assemble warriors in this cause. Although it is true that Iti cannot stand against Wu if one wages war by counting soldiers, the outcome of a battle by no means depends upon numbers, but upon the fortunes of the occasion and the strategy of the generals. Wherefore many times have Wu and Yi exchanged victory and defeat in their struggles, as is well known to you. Why do you admonish me now, saying, with Yi's small strength it is impossible to fight a great enemy like Wu? Your first objection shows that you are deficient in military strategy. Moreover, if the outcome of a battle were to be determined by the season, who could fail to win, since all men know the seasons? This, your second objection, is caused by lack of wisdom. Moreover, if I may not destroy Wu while Wu Tzu, Hse remains in the land, I cannot strike down the enemy of my ancestors, nor avenge the wrongs of those who have passed to the nether world. If I wait aimlessly for Wu Tzu, Hse's death, who can tell which of the 2 of us will die first? There is a fate that determines life and death. The young may perish before the old. Shall I withhold my hand, not heeding this truth? This, your third objection, is a mark of stupidity. The first Chu is a dynasty, the second is a ruler of another dynasty. TF, I wait until another time to gather together warriors. Assuredly will tidings thereof reach the country of Wu, and the king of Wu will come against me because of my delay. It will be useless to repent on that day. It is said, he who is beforehand controls others, he who is behindhand is controlled by others. The matter is decided. He made speed to lead his 200,000 horsemen to a place called Fu Chio, Scene, on the border between Wu and Yi, where he camped with Yoi, Kai Mountain behind him and a mighty river in front. That he might destroy the enemy utterly, he revealed but 30,000 of his horsemen, hiding the others deep in the mountains behind his camp, 170,000 riders. Soon the king of Yi came to Fu Chio Scene. When he saw that the men of Wu were but 20 or 30,000 riders waiting here and there, he despised them, thinking, a strangely small force, and he commanded his 100,000 warriors to cross the river, all of them at once. The warriors of Yi urged their horses into the water, lined them up close together, and crossed. The day was bitter cold, since it was early in the 2nd month, and there was in the river. The hands of the warriors froze, so that they could not bend their bows. The horses stumbled in the snow, and could not easily go forward or backward. Yet the king of Yi advanced with attack drums beating and warriors galloping forward neck by neck, each striving to be first. From the beginning, the warrior Safu had thought to destroy the men of Yi by drawing them into a difficult position and surrounding them. Wherefore, without fighting, they retreated toward Kaiyoi, Kai Mountain, from their camp at Fu, Chio, H scene, while for the arguments in these two paragraphs are reinforced with quotations from Mencius, the Analects, and the Shikai. The Taiheiki 30 Leaguist warriors of Yi pursued them, macking their 4 lines into one and not looking to the right or left. Each for himself, they chased after them until their horses were without breath. But at dusk, the warriors of Wu came out of the mountains on every side, 200,000 riders, that according to their desire had drawn the enemy into a difficult place. They encompassed Ku Qin, king of Yi, roundabout, and attacked furiously. The warriors and horses of Yi were weary, since they had galloped a long distance in that morning's fighting. Moreover, their numbers were inferior. And because of these things, they drew together in one place when the great host of Wu surrounded them. If they advanced against the enemy in front, there were warriors waiting on steep cliffs with arrowheads ready. If they fell back seeking to break through behind, the enemy were many and they were weary. Assuredly, they must taste defeat, who could neither advance nor retreat. In destroying the strong and smashing the sharp, Ku Qin, king of Yi, surpassed the strength of H Xiang Ye and exceeded the bravery of Fan Kaiyoi, too. His men swept into the middle of the great host, crossing and circling to beat it down and drive it away. They came together in one place and scattered in 3 places. They forced back the enemy in 4 directions and smote them on 8 sides. They changed from moment to moment, fighting 100 times. Yet in the end, the king of Yi was defeated, and more than 70,000 of his riders were killed. Ku Qin went up onto Kaiyoi, Kai Mountain, unable to stand against the enemy. And when the warriors of Yi were numbered, but 30,000 horsemen remained, whereof half were wounded, and all had used up their arrows and broken their spear tips. In the beginning, the lords of neighboring countries had watched the fighting, not joining themselves to Wu nor yet to Yi, until they might behold which of the two would win a victory. But now in great numbers they galloped to the side of the king of Wu, and the warriors of Wu, strengthened mightily, became 3 Hun Tiem famous heroes of Chinese history. H Xiang Ye was the adversary whom Cao Tzu had to overcome in order to found the Han dynasty. Fan Kaiyoi was one of Cao Tzu's ministers. See Note 2, Chapter 7. 1b dread 1,000 horsemen, who encompassed the 4 sides of Kuyuichi Mountain like thickly growing rice, hemp, bamboo, or reeds. The king of Yi entered his tent and gathered together his warriors, saying, "Through no remissness in battle have I encountered ill fortune and suffered encirclement. It is heaven that has destroyed me. On the morrow I shall break through the enemy siege in company with all of you, gallop down into the king of Wu's camp, and perish. In the life to come I shall seek my revenge." So he spoke, and piled up the sacred regalia of Yi to burn them. The king's beloved eldest son, a child of 7 years known as Shi Ye, had followed him to that camp. The king called Shi Ye to him, saying, "It would be pitiful if you were treated harshly by the enemy after my death, for you are very young. Likewise, life would be insupportable to me if I were captured by the enemy and lived on after your death. I think it is best to send you before me, tranquilly resign myself, and perish in tomorrow's battle, that the love between parent and child, preserved beneath the moss of the grave, may continue in the life hereafter." He wiped away his tears with his left sleeve, and with his right hand held out a sword, begging his son to kill himself. But a minister called Ta Fu Chung, the king of Yi's general of the left, came forward, saying, "To remain alive and await one's fate is tedious and difficult. To hold death lightly and obey principle is direct and easy. Let my lord desist a while from burning the sacred regalia of Yi, and from killing his eldest son." Although I am not clever, I believe that I can deceive the king of Wu, save my lord's life, and return Hamido raise another great army to wipe out this disgrace. In former days, I was a friend of Taiheiki, the supreme commander of Wu surrounding this mountain, and through long acquaintance I have come to know his heart. Truly he is a man oft-blindering, yet his heart overflows with greed, and he gives no thought o' evils to come. Likewise I have heard him speak of the actions of Fu, Chi king of Wu. Wherefore I know that the king's wisdom is shallow, and his planning is lacking in intelligence. Moreover, he is a dictato carnal, delights the Taiheiki, and deficient in virtue. Both lord and minister will be easy to deceive. Assuredly it is because my lord would not heed the admonitions of Fan Li, that now Yi fights without success, and is surrounded by Wu. I ask my lord to save the lives of the myriads of his defeated warriors by accepting my humble planning. So he admonished him. And the king of Yi bowed before his, reasoning, saying, although it is said that the leader of a defeated army does not again devise strategy, henceforth I shall trust to Ta Fu Chung, and he forbore to burn the sacred regalia, nor caused his eldest son to kill himself. Then Ta Fu Chung entered the camp of Wu, saying, the insignificant minister Chung, an attendant of the great king's rear vassal Ku, Qin of Yi, respectfully acts as the under-servant of the supreme commander of Wu. He moved forward on his knees, touched his head to the ground, and laid down his body in front of Taiheki's abiding place. Taiheiki seated himself on a couch and granted an audience to Ta Fu Chung, ordering his curtain to be rolled up. Ta Fu Chung would not look at him directly, but hung his head tearfully, saying, the luck of my unworthy master Ku Qin is ended, his strength is exhausted, and he is surrounded by the warriors of Wu. Through the tongue of the insignificant minister, Chung, he asks that the king of Yi may forever render homage as the least of the subjects of Wu. I beg that you will forgive yesterday's trespasses and spare the king today. If the general will save Ku Qin from death, the country of Yi will be offered up to the king of Wudo be his land, and the sacred regalia of Yi will be presented to the general. Likewise, the beautiful Hsi will be given to the king for a handmaiden, to serve his pleasure throughout the day. If unsatisfied you demand the punishment of Ku Qin, then assuredly will I burn the sacred regalia of Yi, unite the hearts of my warriors, and come down against the camp of the king of Wu to perish. Because my friendship with the general has always been stronger than glue or lacquer, therefore I ask this favor of a lifetime. I beg the general to go in haste to the king of Wuto speak of these things, that while I live I may learn the fate of my petition. So with passion he spoke, and again with lamenting, exhausting all the words in his mouth. And Taiheiki looked kindly upon him, saying, the affair will not be difficult. I shall surely prevail up in my lord, to lessen the punishment of the king of Yi. At once Taiheiki went into the king of Wu, where, drawing near, he spoke of these things. But the king was sorely vexed, saying, not today alone have Wu and Yi called together warriors to dispute lands, yet now Ku Qin has lost his luck and become our prisoner. Is this not a gift to me from heaven? You are no loyal minister. If knowing this, you would spare Ku Qin's life. Taiheiki said again, though I am as nothing, yet for a time has it been granted to me to bear the name of general. Going forth into battle against the warriors of Yi, I have destroyed a mighty host by my planning on the day of battle, and heedless of life have won a victory. Yet all these are but the labors of an honest heart, that for my lord's sake seeks to bring peace to the realm, unwilling to relax its loyalty even for a day, or to fail to put forth its uttermost exertions. Although one may say, the king of Yi has lost the battle, and his strength is exhausted, the warriors remaining to him are 30,000 men, all mighty men of war and excellent riders. The warriors of Wu are many, but having won yesterday's battle, they will be thinking of preserving their lives to enjoy rewards. The warriors of Yi are few, but their hearts are united. Moreover, they know that they cannot escape. It is said that cornered rats bite cats, and hgh-ting sparrows are not afraid of men. If Wu and Yi fight again, Wu will certainly be close to danger. If my lord the Taiheiki spares the life of the king of Iti, giving him a little land to make him a vassal of Wu, then not only will my lord join together the two states of Wu and Yi, but likewise none among the states of Chi, Chu, Chin, and Ko will fail to render allegiance to him. This is the way to make the foundation deep and the base strong. So he spoke, exhausting reason, whereupon with avaricious heart the king of Wu said to him, "If it be so, quickly raise the siege of Kai Mountain, and let Ku Chin be spared." And Tsai Pi returned to speak of these things to Ta Fu Chung. Rejoicing exceedingly, Ta Fu Chung galloped back to Kai Mountain to bear tidings thereof to the king of Yi. Color returned to the warriors' faces, and every man of them rejoiced, saying, "That we have escaped certain death is due solely to the resourceful mind of Ta Fu Chung." Then the king of Yi raised a flag to surrender, and the king of Wustaped the siege of Kai. The warriors of Wu returned to Wu, the warriors of Yi returned to Yi, and Ku Chin sent home Hai's eldest son Shi, with Ta Fu Chung. Ku Chin himself mounted up into an unpainted chariot of white wood drawn by a white horse, registered with the seal. Cord of Yi hung around his neck. He proclaimed himself the rear vassal of Wu and surrendered at the enemy camp. May it not be that there was fear in the heart of King of Wu. For he refused to show his face to Ku Chin, saying, "The man of honor does not draw near to a condemned person." He gave Ku Chin over into the keeping of prison officers, with whom he journeyed toward the Su castle of Wu, galloping from one post station to another in a single day. Of those who saw him, there was none whose sleeve was not wet with tears. When Ku Chin came to Su castle, they bound him with manacles and leg irons in a dirt prison. Though the nights grew light and the days grew dark, he beheld not the radiance of the sun, lest he become prone to look upon capital punishment lightly. A quotation from the Kung Yang commentary to the Spring and Autumn Annals. Or moon, but abode in darkness, ignorant of the passing of the seasons. Deep indeed was the dew on Hai's tear-soaked floor. Sojourning in the country of Yi, Fan Li heard of the Sethings, and his wrath against Wu entered unbearably into the marrow of his bones. Distressfully he thought, in some way I must preserve the life of the king of Yi until the day of his return to our country, that together we may devise a means of wiping out the disgrace of Kai Mountain. Disguising his person and altering his appearance, he put fish into a basket and went forth toward the land of Wu in the guise of a fishmonger. When he came before Su castle, he asked concerning the abiding place of Ku Chin, and there was one hodled him of it fully. Then joyfully Fan Li went to his master's prison. Although the place was guarded very strictly, he threw a fish inside with a letter in its belly. And because it was a strange thing, Ku Chin opened the fish's belly and discovered the message. HSI Po * registered was imprisoned at Yu, Li, and Chung. Registered fled to the T. Yet both of them became princes. Do not submit to the enemy by dying. So indeed it was written. Beholding the vigor of the brush and the style of the words, Ku Chin knew that it was from the hand of Fan Li. His heart was touched by Fan Li's spirit, and hope moved within his breast. In this world of sorrows Fan Li lives on, busying himself for my sake, he thought. He began to copyright cherish his life, of which he had complained. TT is misery to exist even for a day or a moment. Now it came to pass that suddenly Fu Chi king of Wu was afflicted by the disease called bladder stone, wherefore his body and mind were everlastingly tormented and distracted. Although shamans prayed for him, both the male and the female, there was no manifestation. Although doctors treated him, he was not cured. 25. A Chinese political figure of the era of warring states. 403, 220, 1 BC. He later became a powerful ruler. 70. 60 Note 35, Chapter 2. The Taiheiki Wenhai's fleeting life was nearly gone. From a foreign land there came a physician of renown, saying, "Although the august affliction is most severe, it is not beyond the healer's art. Without difficulty could I curate, if some person would but taste a bladder stone to tell me whether it be salty, bitter, acid, pungent, or sweet." Thereupon it was asked, "Let some person take this bladder stone into his mouth, that he may make known its taste." Yet the great ministers of state on the left and right looked at one another, none willing to taste it. When tidings of these things came to Ku-chin, he said, weeping, "It is due entirely to the benevolent favor of the great king that I was not struck down after the encirclement of Kai, but have remained alive to await his pardon. When shall I discharge my obligation, if it be not now?" In secret, he obtained a bladder stone, put it into his mouth, and told the doctor off its taste. And the doctor applied a treatment that cured the king of Wu instantly. Greatly pleased, the king of Wu thought, "Ku-chin is a kind man who has saved me from death. How can I refrain from thanking him? Let the king of Yi go free from his prison," he commanded. "Let him receive again the country of Yi and return to his own land." Thereupon the king's minister, Wutsu Hsai, admonished him, saying, "TT is said that those who refuse heaven's gifts incur heaven's censure. It will be like setting a tiger free to roam over 1,000-league plain, if instead of taking the territory of Yi you send Ku-chin home. Disaster is close at hand." But the king of Wu, unwilling to listen, sent Ku-chin back to his own country. When the king of Yi turned his carriage shafts toward the country of Yi, a vast multitude of frogs came leaping before the carriage. Ku-chin got down and bowed to them, saying, "From this auspicious omen I learn that brave warriors will come to my side, whereby the object of my desire will be accomplished." So Ku-chin returned to the country of Yi, to his palace of former days, that in 3 years had become a desolate wilderness, where owls hooted from the branches of pine and cinnamon trees, foxes hid in thickets of orchids and chrysanthemums, and fallen leaves filled quiet, unswept courtyards. And when it was known that the king had escaped death and come back, Fan Li came to the palace with Shi Ya. Now the consort of the king of Yi was a beautiful woman called Hsi Shi. Because she was fair beyond others and beautiful beyond comparison, the king cherished her tenderly, never leaving her side even briefly. While the king was in the hands of Wu, this lady lived in hiding to escape calamity. But on hearing of his return, she came back again to our palace. Plain indeed were the marks of her 3 years of bitter grief. Strange indeed were her neglected hair and thin body, more touching than a pear blossom opening in the spring rain. Quickly from here and there, the great nobles and dignitaries assembled, with 100 civil and military officials. Chariots galloped through dust off the capital streets. The ornaments on caps and girdles tinkled in the moonlight at the cinnabar courtyard. And again, the palace apartments were as a blooming garden. Just at that time, there came a messenger from the country of Wu. Fearfully, the king of Yi questioned him through Fan Li, saying, "Why are you come here?" And the messenger said, "Throughout breadth and compass of the realm has my master, the king of Wu, sought a fair woman, for he is a passionate man enamored of beauty, yet nowhere has he seen the equal of Hsi Shi's face." Now there was a promise made when the king of Yi emerged from the siege of Kai Mountain, that at once Hsi Shi would Bacento enter the rear palace of Wu. "I am come to make her or really to be the queen of Wu." The Taiheiki hearing him, the king of Yi said, "By no means was it to preserve the state or my own person that I surrendered at the camp of Fu Chi king of Wu, or saved my life by shamelessly tasting the bladder stone. It was solely for the sake of Hsi Shi that I did those things. I care nothing for ruling a great country if, parted from her during this life, I can but look forward to seeing her after death. I shall never send Shi to another country, even though I become Wu captive again by violating the treaty between Wu and Yi. With flowing tears, Fan Li spoke to the king, saying, "Truly it is grievous to me to consider the great sorrow my lord must feel. Yet by refusing to give up Shi, he will violate the covenant between Wu and Yi, whereupon assuredly the king of Wu will send an army against him. Then not only will the country of Yi be annexed to Wu, but Shi will be taken away by force, and the national altars will be overthrown. Now the king of Wu is a lascivious man, one who lusts thirstily after pleasures of the flesh. If his Shi enters the rear palace of Wu, beyond doubt he will forget the government of the state, so excessive will be his enjoyment of her. When his country grows weak and his people become rebellious, it will be within my lord's power to win a victory swiftly by invading Wu with armed men. In this way his seed will flourish throughout the ages, and his conjugal vows will endure forever." So with tears he spoke, and again with admonitions, exhausting reason, until submissively the king of Yi commanded Shi to be sent away to the country of Wu. Shi went forth from the palace. She had not thought to leave for a time as short as a small deer's horns, parting from her beloved husband, the king of Yi, and sadly leaving the young Shi, with no words in her mouth. Never on that unaccustomed journey did her tears of sorrow cease to flow, nor ever were her two sleeves dried. Likewise the king of Yi, cast down by a great grief, thought in his heart that they would not meet again. As he gazed afar toward the skies of her dwelling place, his tears were like the rain that falls from clouds drifting slowly over the mountains at dusk. Retiring alone to an empty couch, he lay propped up on the pillow, longing to meet her even in a dream. Yet they could not be united, though the image of her face was clear before him. How natural it was that he should grieve despairingly. Now Shi was the most beautiful woman of the realm. One worn her fair raiment would ravish a lord's eyes with 100 delights, though she smiled but once, for the flowers of the earth were as nothing before her. Wench but gazed in silence, by 1,000 graceful poses she would melt a man's heart, causing the moon to pale suddenly as though hidden behind a cloud. And therefore she seduced the heart of the king of Wu, from the day when first she entered the palace to serve at his side. By night the king turned away his face from the government of their realm, and night-long gave himself to carnal joys. By day he heeded not the peril of the state, but thoughtenly off drinking and banqueting throughout the day. That he might divert himself while feasting with Shi, he built the cloud-piercing golden chamber, where from his pillow he looked down upon mountains and rivers for 300 leagues in every direction. Were there a spring day without flowers, he would command men to bury musk bags to scent the courtiers' shoes on the carriage roads. Were there a summer night without a moon, he would command men to gather fireflies, that even as lamps they might illumineth royal villa. Day after day without pause his wantonness continued, bringing decline above and ruin below, yet slavishly the fawning ministers refrained from admonition. And in all things the king of Wu was as though in an intoxicated oblivion. Beholding these things, Wu Tzu, Shi spoke words of reproof, saying, "Does not my lord know that King Chu of Yin brought disorders upon the realm through being bewitched by Chi Fei, and King Yui of Chu destroyed his state through love of Pao Shu? Registered, yet my lord's infatuation with Shi exceeds these precedents. The ruin of the state is not far distant. I implore my lord to put away Shi. Two well-known episodes in early Chinese history. Fourth story of Pao Shu, see note 8, chapter 10. The Taiheiki so, with words of admonition, he braved the royal countenance, yet the king of Wu heeded him not. Now it came about that the king of Wu, having summoned his courtiers to a banquet for Shi, was drinking to drunkenness among the flowers of the south apartment, when with dignified mien Wu Tzu, Shi made his appearance. As Wu Tzu, Hsi prepared to ascend the jade stairway strewn with jewels and inlaid with gold, raised his skirts high, as though to cross water. When they asked him about it, since it was very strange, he said, "Not distant is the time when this coup, Su Tower will become a place of thick grasses and heavy dews, destroyed by the king of Yi. If I live to visit the ruins of this my dwelling place, surely the dew from misleaves will be thick and deep. It is in anticipation of a future autumn asterisk registered that I train myself to lift my skirts." So indeed he spoke. Perhaps Wutsu, Hsi thought in his heart. Although a loyal minister offers reproofs, the king will not heed them. Rather than admonish excessively, I will try to turn peril aside by killing myself. For on a certain occasion, he entered bearing his blue snake sword, newly come from the whetstone. And he drew it out and leaned on it in the presence of the king, saying, "To expel evil and drive away enemies have I sharpened this sword. Yet when I inquire closely into the source of the nation's decline, all proceeds from Hsi. There can be no greater enemy than she. I beg of you to cut off Hsi's head in order to avert the danger to the national altars." So he spoke, grinding his teeth where he stood. The king of Wu, mightily enraged, thought to kill Wutsu, Hsi, since a master of men does not scruple to be unrighteous when honest counsels offend his ears. Yet Wutsu, Hsi uttered no lamentations, but said, "It is the duty of a subject to strive, remonstrate, and die for principle. I rejoice in the midst of regret that I am to die by the hand of the great king, instead of by the hand of a warrior of Yi. But that my lord kills me through anger against my loyal Edmoni registered the season of melancholy. Tians, this indeed is a sign that heaven has forsaken him. Not 3 years will pass before my lord is conquered and killed by the king of Yi." When my headies struck off, I asked to have my 2 eyes plucked out and hung up on the east gate of Wu. Before those eyes wither, they will smile with pleasure to see my lord going toward his execution, defeated by Ku Qin. So He spoke, and the king's anger waxed stronger, so that Hein tilde deed put Wutsu, Hsi to death, plucked out his eyes, and hung them up on the flag spear at the east gate of Wu. Thereafter no minister offered admonitions, though the king's deeds were exceedingly wicked. The assembled officials held their peace. The myriad people spoke with their eyes alone. Hearing of these things, Fan Li rejoiced, saying, "The hour is come." And he led 200,000 horsemen against the country of Wu. Just at that time Fu, Chi king of Wu had gone forth toward the country of Qin, since men had come saying that Qin would rise against Wu, wherefore there were no warriors left behind to defend Wu. Fan Li took back Hsi, sent her Hamido the palace of the king of Yi, and burned down the Su Tower. Likewise, the 2 countries of Chi and Chu made an agreement with the king of Yi, whereby they sent 300,000 horsemen to strengthen Fan Li's arms. Hearing of these things, the king of Wu left off fighting with the country of Qin and went back to contend against Yi. Yet in front of him the waiting warriors of Yi, Chi and Chu were like cloudser mist, while in the rear a powerful enemy came after him, the state of Qin pressing its victory. In no wise might he flee, when these strong enemies encompassed him before and behind. For 3 days and nights the king of Wu fought fiercely, but unceasingly Fan Li smote him with fresh warriors, until but 100 of the 30,000 men of Wu remained unslain. When the king of Wu had personally fought against the enemy 2 times, he broke through the encirclement in the night, and with 67 horsemen climbed up to Su mountain, whence he sent a messenger to the king of Yi, saying, "The Taiheiki, when the great king suffered affliction at Kai mountain, his minister Fu, Chi stretched forth his hand to help him. I ask that from this time on, I may live beneath the jade foot off the great king as a rear, vassal of Yi. If my lord has not forgotten the obligation of Kai, let him spare his minister's life today." So with humble words and proper decorum, he begged to surrender. Hearing his words, the king of Yi was moved toppity, thinking in his heart, "Even as I suffered in a bygone time, so another grieves today." Nor could he endure to kill the king of Wu, but Resolvedto let him live. But hearing these things, Fan Li went before the king and spoke all that was in his heart freely, saying, "When one hews an axe handle, the model is not far away." Although heaven delivered Yi into the hands of Wu at Keioi, Kai, the king of Wu, would not accept that gift, wherefore quickly he encountered calamity. Now that heaven delivers Wu to Yi, Yi likewise will encounter calamity if the gift is not accepted. For 21 years my lord and I have striven mightily to overcome Wu. Would it not be regrettable to cast away the fruit of our labors in a single morning? The loyal minister does not follow when his lord's actions are unrighteous. Fan Li personally beat the attack, drums even before the king of Wu messenger went back. He gathered together his warriors, captured the king of Wuliv, and brought him before the camp of Yi. Then passing through the east gate of Wu with his hands bound behind him, the king of Wu beheld the two eyes that he had put up on the flag spear, when he had struck down the loyal minister Wu Tsu, Hsi, because of his admonitions. Nor after 3 years were those eyes withered, but the pupils were opened wide, and it was as though they laughed to see him. Perhaps the king of Wu felt shame before them, for he drew his sleeve in front of his face and passed with lowered head. Of the myriads of warriors who watched, not one but shed tears. 3. One models it after the axe in one's hand. An allusion to a poem in the Book of Odes. Then the king of Wu was given over into the handsoft jailers, cut off his head at the foot of Keioi, Kai Mountain. Wherefore since ancient times have men had the saying, to wipe out Keioi, Kai shame. Thereafter the king of Yi took the land of Wu for his own. Likewise he subdued Qin, Chu, Che, and Chen, and became the head of the League of Military Rulers. He sought to reward Fan Li merit by making him the lord of a myriad households, but Fan Li refused, saying, "He who has a great name cannot endure for long." It is following the way of heaven to retire after achieving success and winning fame. Thereafter Fan Li changed his name to Tiao Chu, Kung, and shut himself away from the world in a place called 5 Lakes. Fishing, he sheltered on reedy banks, where he kept off the snow with half a straw coat. Reciting poems, he floated below scarlet maple leaves, carrying autumn in his solitary boat. He watched the moon moving across the vast heavens behind the red evening dust, and watching became a white-headed old man. End of episode. Truly all these things were in Takanori's mind when, drawing a comparison, he wrote 1,000 thoughts in a single verse, and secretly made them known to the Supreme Highness. When the former sovereign had sojourned for some 10 days at Mio Harbor in Izumo, his boatman cast off their lines to depart in a fair wind, and he rowed away toward the distant clouds, encompassed about on every side by 300 warboats. Now where the broad sea lay peaceful, there in the northwest the sun sank below the waves. Where the cloud-veiled mountains rose far away, there in the southeast the moon climbed Yupin Theski. Among the willows of an island shore, a single lamp flickered, as of a fishing boat returning home. By night, the sovereign's boat was moored in the vapors of reedy shores. By day, its sail was spread in the breeze from Matsu. Many days, he journeyed over the wave-feudal states, which followed the decline of the Chu dynasty. It lasted for more than 200 years. The Taiheiki paths, until at last the boat came to the land of Oki, even on the 26th day of his going forth from the capital. And he took up his abode in a house of unpeeled logs at a place called Kafu, Nishima, made ready by Sasaki Oki no Hogan Sadakio. Of personal attendants to serve his majesty, there were but the Rokyuj Lesser Marshal Tadaki and the chief archivist and Grandee Yukafusa, and of ladies in waiting there was but Lady Sammy. No more did the Supreme Highness behold the stately apartments and splendid chambers of a former day. His eyes met rafters of bamboo, with knots clustering together thick as manifold sorrows, and hedges of pine, brush clinging together close as falling tears. Where the voice of the palace watchman had cried the dawn, the shouts of warrior guards pressed hard upon his pillow, not suffering him to slumber even briefly in the imperial bed chamber. But though no morning audiences awaited the opening of the Lespedeza room, never did he neglect his dawn prayers or fail to worship the pole star, not though he had dreamed in the night of Worshin's clouds and rain. Registered for what sort of year was this year, when blameless officials shed tears of sorrow beneath the moon of Exile, and the first person under heaven changed his estate to grieve amid the winds of a strange land. Never since the beginning of heaven and earth had such extraordinary things been heard of. Was there any man for whose sake the sun and moon could shine, hanging in the heavens unashamed of their brightness? These were things that would bring sadness even to insentient plants and trees, or make flowers forget to open.